Excellent. Okay, so since it's just you, I don't need to introduce myself, but this is thank you for coming to spend this time with me tonight. We're going to be talking about the gut weight connection. And so, one of the things that I've noticed, especially over the last 4 years while I've been aggressively working with patients to lose weight, is that the health of your gut is really, really critically important. And the more surprising thing is that the gut is actually critically important for your entire body health, not just your weight. So we're going to get into this a little bit. And if you have any questions, just go ahead and stop me. So, why does weight loss feel so hard? Well, the biggest mantra that you hear from everybody telling you how to lose weight is what? Eat less, move more. But we know that that doesn't work because the world is not the same as it was 30 or 20 or 30 or 40 years ago. Our environment is not the same. Our food is not the same. The stress in our lives is not the same. And so there's a lot of factors that have an impact on whether or not we are walking around at a healthy weight. Hidden factors such as inflammation, that's like the body being on fire from the inside, hormones, which is our chemistry, and that gut imbalance. And 70% of the immune system lives in the gut. I think a lot of people are surprised by this, but if you think about it, it's really not that shocking considering the fact that every single time we put something into our mouth, that's something from the outside world. So it makes sense that our largest defense system in the body should be laid up along that border. And your gut has an influence on cravings, energy, and fat storage. So, have you ever heard the term microbiome before?
Yes.
Okay. So, the microbiome is, as you know, an alien world that lives inside of us. We are made up of more bacteria, viruses, and fungi than we are human cells. So when you think about that, that's pretty remarkable. There's good and bad bacteria. As women, if we've ever had an antibiotic, we know that it very often, if not always, follows up with a yeast infection in the vagina. Why? Because the healthy bacteria that keep the yeast in check in that canal get wiped out from the hand grenade that is the antibiotic as well. And the more shocking statistic is that it takes your body a full year to recover from one round of antibiotics in terms of repopulating that healthy gut flora. And that's assuming that you're eating the foods that we're supposed to be eating. And so this microbiome is incredibly important and it affects everything. So the gut weight connection. So how is it connected? Well, the gut bacteria not only help, some of them help to make vitamins for us, they also are going to be helpful in absorbing some of the nutrients that we have. So if we're not able to properly absorb nutrients from our food, then that's one of the reasons that we feel hungry. But it's also one of the reasons that, a lot of people walking around that are overweight and obese, they're actually malnourished. And it seems counterintuitive because malnourishment seems like you would see emaciated skeletal people, but if you are not getting proper nutrition, you're also malnourished. Poor gut health equals inflammation, which also makes your body store fat. And the imbalances that are going on inside the body trigger those cravings for sugar and processed foods. Not only that, the sugar feeds what I call the yeast beast. We're supposed to have a certain population of candida in the gut, but when there's an overgrowth of that bacteria, or I'm sorry, of that yeast, it gets out of balance. And certain bacteria can also increase fat storage hormones. So it tells the body to hold on to extra tissue. So what are some of the signs that your gut may be out of balance? Well, obviously, we know that the very clear digestive system symptoms, which would be gas, bloating, constipation, or diarrhea, food intolerances. The fact that Everybody's allergic or intolerant to gluten. I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, I had never heard the word gluten. That's just been over the last 20 years or so that we're really, really hearing a lot about that. It's just a protein that's found in wheat, but it wasn't something that anybody ever talked about before, because it wasn't an issue. The sugar and carb cravings, fatigue after eating. If you get that, you're eating high processed foods, and then you get that big sugar spike, and you get that boost of energy for 15, 20 minutes or so, and then you crash. That's another reason or another thing that could indicate the gut's out of balance. And also stubborn belly fat. So I actually call that inflammation belly. Another term for it is heart attack fat. So people who tend to carry their extra weight around their midsection are at a higher risk of most of the obesity related diseases, including heart disease. So gut health and inflammation. Well, what does that mean and how are they correlated? Well, in the gut, there should be really nice, tight junctions where the cells are linked together. And the term leaky gut is actually the layman's term for increased intestinal permeability, which means we're essentially poking holes in that gut lining. Those junctions, those nice, tight junctions between the cells are breaking and coming apart. And what happens then is we have a passage of foods that are partially digested into the bloodstream. We have things that they don't belong there. And so when they don't belong there, that triggers the immune system, because remember, I said more than 70% of the immune system is lined up along that gut. So when the immune system sees things passing that barrier that don't belong there, it goes into overdrive. And this is why we see this spike in autoimmunity that's going on. Inflammation is what drives weight gain and cravings, and it also affects hormones like insulin, leptin, and cortisol. People have heard a lot about cortisol because of stress. So if we heal the gut, we heal the weight. So there's 6 gut healing habits that help you to release the weight. The first one would be to remove inflammatory foods such as gluten, seed oils, and refined sugar. So again, gluten all by itself is not the enemy, but the problem is that most of the foods, if not all of them, that contain gluten are contaminated with glyphosate because it is sprayed on everything. And so it's very, very difficult to avoid having too much of that in our system. And then depending on each person's capability for their body to clean up from that or detoxify that glyphosate out through the detox channels. And the detox channels are in the liver, they're in the kidneys, they're in a couple other places, but those are the big primary ones. If those detoxification centers and processes aren't working properly, then that's when we get into trouble. Seed oils are man-made, so they should not go into a nature-made body. Man-made fuel goes into a man-made machine, like gasoline into a car. Nature-made fuel goes into a nature-made machine, right? So our bodies were not made in a factory, so we should not be consuming foods that are made in a factory. More fiber-rich vegetables, especially leafy greens. Our food that we're supposed to be eating with no labels and 0 ingredients, it is processed in a way that our body is designed to, it is, the food is there and our body is designed to process it the way that it came from nature. And so we shouldn't try to fix what's not broken. Unfortunately, we've broken a lot of stuff, but the way that it was put here for us is the way that it was designed and intended through nature. Fermented foods are really, really awesome. Sauerkraut, kimchi, plain yogurt, any kind of pickled anything is going to be really, really helpful because that helps with the digestive process. Staying hydrated with mineral-rich water. Most of our water is depleted or acidic, and that's really not beneficial to the body. So having that kind of mineral rich water, bottled water Some people, and this is just an aside, bottled water, the really, really cheap stuff or the stuff that most of us drink, and it says something about clarified water. That's just tap water. The really expensive waters, they actually do make a difference in the body because it changes the pH of your fluids in your body. Take prebiotics and probiotics. These are things that will help you to digest your food and break them down. Probiotics, it's important to rotate them so we have a robust population, a very diverse population of good guys in there to help us make our vitamins and digest our food. And then practice fasting. Really making sure that you're not eating within 3 to 5 hours of when you go to bed is really, really critical, because when we're going to bed, we have other jobs for our body to do. Our brain has to clean up a lot of garbage. We might have to do some tissue healing. We don't want to give our body extra work, which is here, go ahead and try to digest and break down this monstrosity of what I'm going to pretend is a meal that I just put into here. Because then if the body is stuck doing that all night, it can't do any of the other healing that it's supposed to do while we're sleeping. The gut-brain axis. Have you ever heard that term before, Terry?
No.
Okay. So they actually have found, there's another term for this. They call it the HPAT axis, which is the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal thyroid axis. So it actually, there's a lot of research that shows and confirms that what's happening in our gut dictates our mood and how we feel and how we react. So case in point, I can use an example of a postpartum female who might be excessively emotional or explosively angry, or she might just, the other polar opposite would be that she just kind of hides in her shell and she doesn't want to talk. Those mood swings are very, very directly, intimately correlated with our gut health. And so that's one of the things that they've found very, very clearly in the research. So gut health affects the mood and the stress response. I think, we, as women, we can agree that the more calm your mood, the more chill your stress response. Like you could have something, depending on how you're feeling inside, you could have the exact same stimulus affect you and you would respond to it completely different on Monday versus Wednesday, depending on how you're feeling that day. 90% of the serotonin is made in the gut, and the serotonin is the happy chemical in your brain. This is I talk about the serotonin button. So when kids are playing a video game and the very first level, they get a really easy task and then they get 1 star, ding, that's that boop, that hits that little button inside their brain. And then that's what makes the game addictive, because it's an internal drug in our head, which when it's, as it is in nature, it's fine. It's when we manipulate that to make things addictive, that's when it becomes an issue. But that's another discussion. Stress disrupts the gut bacteria. If we are in a situation where we're ready to run away from a threat, like fight or flight, our body is not getting ready to digest a meal or lay down and relax and go to sleep. And so it actually alters the chemistry inside the body. And this is why, if people are under a lot of stress for a really, really long time, they can have digestive problems such as ulcers because there's an overproduction of that acid and it's a disruption inside, and it's just a mess. And then stress management is critically important, not only because as humans, we have a unique capability of running around with the on button on all the time, but we need to, at this point, we actually need to schedule in relaxation, because we are so busy running around trying to say yes to everything, trying to do everything, trying to move faster, that it actually is detrimental to our health. And I know that I don't need to explain that to you, because you understand that rest and rejuvenation is incredibly important for the body. And so, um, the last slide here, I do have a GI triad. This is something that we have in the office that is a plan of attack to help to address some of these issues. Most of the time, I customize this for each individual person. And because we already have a working relationship, if this is something that you wanted to talk about more, you can certainly let me know. And do you have any questions about anything that